Hello everyone, if this is your first talk with us today, then welcome to the Sales Enablement Festival. And for those of you who've already been tuning in to our selection of talks, welcome back. We have so much more amazing content heading your way, but before we get back into it, we just want to take this moment to thank all our amazing sponsors and partners for bringing this virtual festival to life. We also want to thank you, our attendees, for joining us today. If you're enjoying the content from the festival, be sure to check out the SEC membership plans. It's here where you can gain access to exclusive content, research and frameworks, and discounts to things like our brand new workshop series and so much more. You can find more information about this over on the Sales Enablement Collective website. Don't forget to have your questions ready for the live Q&A at the end of this talk, as you'll have the chance to put them to the experts themselves. That's everything from me, so all that's left to do is sit back and enjoy this next talk. Hello everyone, and yes, welcome back to this next talk. This talk is hosted by Jill Guardia, who is the Executive Director of Sales and Employee Enablement over at TriNet Corporation, and she's going to talk to you all about how to add strategy to your enablement mix. So I'd like to welcome Jill to the virtual stage. Over to you, Jill.
Thanks, Jack. So nice to be here with everyone. I'm honored to discuss this topic about adding strategy to your enablement mix, and I hope we can make this somewhat interactive. Please make sure to go to the chat window and add some chat when we have some time for some questions and some commentary. So let's go ahead and get started. As Jack said, I'm Jill Guardia, the Executive Director of Enablement and Employee Engagement at TriNet. TriNet is one of the leading professional employer organizations in the United States. We are a 30-year-old startup. And so that means we've been around for a long time, and we're still sort of getting our feet under us in certain ways. Very excited about our future, and we had some great earnings yesterday, so excited about that as well. We service HR needs for small and medium-sized companies. And it's so nice to see everybody's name popping up and where you're from. So, hey, everybody. And some names I recognize, which is great. I've been at TriNet for almost 5 years now. And before that, I held a number of enablement roles in a variety of other companies, mostly in medium and larger size companies, software and technology firms. I've built sales enablement teams in 4 different companies. I've grown with the industry. Initially, I came about to this job with a sales training background, and even way before that, I was a customer technical trainer. So I've been in the training industry for just many, many, many years. Today, I run a team of experts who help make sure that hundreds of sellers have the skills and knowledge necessary to do their job. So I consider myself a practitioner, a creator, a guide, a mentor, a career builder, which is one of my favorite things to do, as well as a student of the industry. So again, honored to be here today to talk to you about adding strategy to your mix, and hopefully give you a few tips you can walk away with that will be help you deliver more results. So first thing I want to do, and you may laugh a little bit, but I'm going to ask us all to just take a moment and settle in. So this crazy world we've been living in, it's rush, rush, rush. Maybe some of you have been rushing throughout your day. And what I'd like you to do is to just close your eyes. We're not going to spend a lot of time here, but close your eyes. I'm going to ring the bell, and we're just going to get centered for just about 90 seconds. So I've got my bells here. And with your eyes closed, go ahead and take a deep breath in. Let that breath out. And for those of you who are new to meditation, you might think for a second about breathing in. Say to yourself, I'm breathing in. Out, I'm breathing out. And just keep that mantra going in your mind for a couple of breaths. In, I breathe in. Out, I breathe out. Again, if your mind wanders, in, I breathe in. Out, I breathe out. In, I breathe in. Out, I breathe out. In, I breathe in. Out, I breathe out. So you can blink your eyes open, come back to the session. I hope you would think about taking some mindful meditation throughout your days and getting yourself ready to come to the conversation with an open mind. All right, here we go. Let's get on with it and talk strategy. So now I've got a picture here. Well, what is this you're looking at? You're probably saying breakfast. This is breakfast. Of course, this is breakfast. We know that. It is definitely not strategy. Strategy becomes something that's very hard to define. There's thousands of definitions about how to add what strategy is and how you would put strategy into your day-to-day activities, but it's definitely not breakfast. When you think about strategy, what do you think? Go ahead and put some notes in the chat. What is strategy to you? There's no right or wrong answers either on this. A plan for achieving something. Organization, a plan. Yes, great feedback. A North Star vision, goals. The path to the North Star. All of these are really great comments. Thank you so much. Now, what I'm showing you on the screen right now is something that is fairly famous, often cited. Michael Porter wrote a Harvard Business Review article back in 1996. And this is what he said strategy is. It's the creation of a unique and valuable position involving a different set of activities, i.e. thinking differently. Few needs of many, broad needs of few, broad needs of many in a small market. And a strategy requires us to make trade-offs in terms of competing. So you decide what you're not going to do, which is just as important as deciding what you are going to do. And of course, strategy is good if it fits within other company activities. So I think most of us here would not argue that creating something that's unique and valuable is something very important to strive for. Now, Manu Melwin Joy, who is a professor of management studies in India, he defined strategy a little bit different. And we heard about that and saw that in some of the comments in the chat. He suggested that strategy is about deciding where you want to go and how you'll get there. And it's a declaration of intent. This is what we want to do and how we intend to do it. So both of these definitions are super helpful to us because we're thinking about what is going to set us up so that we're unique and valuable, we're creating impact and value, and that we know where we're headed, which is really critical to putting strategy into your mix. So just as we sort of wrap up this little mini section, we'll keep going here, but there are 3 levels of strategy. There's a corporate strategy, and some of us are probably sitting at the corporate strategy discussion, but not all of us. You know, if your company's quite large, you're probably working down at the next level, which is departmental strategy. And each of us, no matter if our team is one or many, are running a people strategy. So think corporate, departmental, team. All 3 of those, you can have a piece of the pie and provide some level of strategy design into what you do every single day. So what's standing in our way of building a great strategy that we can implement and execute? If we think of the definition of old around sales enablement as the VP of broken things, we know that we get stuck on one side of this bridge, which is all about the execution layer. We're busy trying to create some sales comms for today, for a meeting tomorrow, and we've got to welcome some new hires, and maybe we have to coach some reps who are looking to potentially leave. So we're very busy. And we see over on the other side of the bridge is where we want to be around strategy. And so what we're finding is that, again, finding that time and that mindfulness, and why I wanted to take a couple of breaths at the beginning, is because sometimes slowing down is really what's going to help us make the decisions to speed up. So think about, if that is you, what gets in your way every single day? I mean, the straight answer is my job, but what would you say if someone said to you, hey, strategy's just on the other side of the bridge? What's standing in your way of getting over there? And feel free to put some more comments in the chat. Very helpful. I know when I put this slide together, I said, oh, this is me, right? I am busy. And how many of you are in meeting after meeting after meeting, really running from one fire to the next, maybe burning the midnight oil, catching up on emails and trying to do some work late into the evening. So this is really the friction point of holding us back from getting to the strategy side of the business. So we want to think about some of those things we can do. We can start to say no to things. I know that's very hard. Sometimes it's in our DNA. In my strengths finders, I am definitely someone who has a strength of saying yes all the time, which is also a weakness when all is said and done. So think about that in terms of your day-to-day. When your leadership team asks you, hey, how's that strategy coming? If you start to hit the panic button, if you start to sigh and just, want to throw some things, then you need to find some ways to sort of slow it down. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Again, more of kind of getting caught in the weeds, really just getting too busy to take that time to build a strategy. And I know that for me, part of what I've done is to create some blocks on my calendar, which are protected blocks. And so when I really need to do some good thinking time, I use those blocks, and they're in the morning when you're fresh, and you can get a lot done, and you just really hold those as sort of gospel. I'm not going to give up those blocks so that I can spend some time thinking beyond the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months, the next sales kickoff. So think about that. Of course, here's an idea, right? Stop time. Of course, if we could do that, we wouldn't be in the sales enablement job. We would probably be doing something else. But stopping time is really the challenge that we have about trying to get so much done in the day. For a moment, consider, what would you do if you could stop time for your own mental health, for your team and their ability to find their passions at work? That's the mindset we want to think about. I mean, of course, I know we can't stop time, but thinking about, if we could, what would we do? How would we try to do something different to test the waters with an idea? Oh, the slide doesn't look very good. Sorry about that. In the precious stop time, take a moment to develop a network of your resources. Think about all of those connections you have, both personally, professionally. Who's in your corner inside of the company? Who's in your corner in your personal life, in your LinkedIn, however you kind of use your time, and think about that list and start to categorize it. Who are influencers? People who know you and can influence others. They have a strong opinion and can get other people to listen. So think about how you can tap into influencers. Think about decision makers, and maybe those are leaders within your own organization or broader within the company that you may be connected with. Maybe you have interests outside of work, or you have attended the same college, or your kids go to school together, something like that, where you could create that network. And then advocates inside and outside the company who can act as a voice on your behalf. That's very important. And it is worth taking the time to think through who's in your camp, who's on your side. Once you've got that network created, think about how you're going to leverage it. Find a way to collect input, feedback, listening to what's being said. We have a senior rep council that we have here at TriNet, and we meet with those senior reps. They have a standing invite on their calendar it's about every 6 weeks. And we usually get anywhere from 6 to 20 different senior reps showing up. And it's an opportunity, we do it over Zoom. It's an opportunity for us to listen really closely to what they're saying, what's going on. We come with an agenda of topics, but we also pause and take topics directly from them, because what we think is important may be very different from what they think is important. The takeaway is that the answer is always in the field. So if you find a way to connect with those people who are in the field, you're likely going to get to your answer. So stop spinning your wheels around, go directly to your sellers, and that may help you accelerate to strategy decisions. Okay, so we talked a little bit about strategy, some definitions, the North Star, the advocacy and feedback loops. When we say strategy, we need to be thinking about 3 things. And your answers in the chat were quite on point. So number 1, a plan on how to leverage resources, skills, and competencies. A long-term view, certainly, as I said, more than just next week or next month, or maybe even more than your next sales kickoff meeting, and provision of some sort of competitive advantage. What's going to make you, your team, your results, your deliverables more competitive than the next guy? So those are the three things. I'll say it again because it's really important. A plan on how to leverage your resources, skills, and competencies, a long-term view, which is beyond next week, and a competitive thought and advantage. And then, of course, what strategy is not? It is not breakfast. Okay, moving on. So let's talk about charters. Many of you who've been in the industry for some time have probably heard about the value of an enablement charter. And I would agree that a charter is very good because it sets up the requirements or the definition of who you are, where you're going to put your energy, how you're going to get there, and some key components that helps to educate many others on what is the value and plan around your department or your team. So it's a good idea to have one. It's an even better idea to reference it on a regular basis. I know I've been in situations myself where we've created a charter, we put all the work into the creation of it, we all aligned around it, we debated what was in it. And by the way, Google charter, sales enablement charters, because you'll find, just many, many examples, and there's no right or wrong here. But the value of the charter is reviewing it, keeping it front and center, printing it out, putting it on your bulletin board, reviewing it every 3 or 6 months, and just making sure that the business hasn't changed so much around you that your charter no longer holds weight. So definitely spend some time creating your charter. Now, back in June of 2019, Marissa Berno published this report around the value of having a charter. And I think you can look at all of these results and just feel like, of course, sorry, my cat jumped on my screen. The value of the charter is providing real results. So a 49% higher win rate, or 49% win rate, which is 12% higher than those who don't have a charter. More people attaining quota because you have a charter, and lower turnover if you have a charter. So if we just step back and think about that for a moment, real results come from having that charter, which is in some way, shape, or form, your North Star. It's helping you, your team, your leadership align to your priorities. Not necessarily the long-term strategy, but certainly giving you a sense of kind of, this is where we focus. These are the key things that we're going to work on. So having a charter is a good start. Having a framework on top of that charter about the how you're going to get things done is an added benefit. So let's talk about charters for a minute. So who out there in the audience has a framework that they know, love, and use every single day? Feel free to put something in the chat if you have your favorite favorite framework. That's a tongue twister. So frameworks, while we're talking about it, you'll see some things on this slide here that people that names you recognize, Gartner, Forrester, the old Serious Decisions, Mike Kunkel. There's a lot of well-known frameworks out there. The one you use has to fit with your business. But a framework is also going to layer on top of your charter and help you get things done with a more with more repeatable, consistent results, which is key to hitting your strategy goals. So on top of the charter framework, there's also levels of enablement maturity. There's no right or wrong here on your enablement maturity. You might be a team of one who's just joined a company that has had no enablement structure until you joined. So you may very well be in an ad hoc position, but with a future, with your sight set on moving through the levels of maturity. Depending on your business need, your charter, your overall strategy, one of these may be just the perfect maturity for you. It's not to suggest that you need to automatically sort of shoot for this level 4 strategic enablement where you're doing performance consulting, high level of coaching, you're really creating organizational design. But I think for the most part, we probably equate ourselves with either tactical or integrated, or a combination of both. So for example, I think that we at TriNet are tactical in some areas, integrated in some areas, and maybe even strategic in some other areas. And then there's always this random ad hoc thing that comes in from the side. So you can be in any one of these and feel really good about what you are. But what you could do is use this with your leadership team to talk about your vision for the future. Are we good where we are? Do we need to move the needle? Are we over-rotated on certain things? And where are our goals for sales enablement in the future? Does anyone want to make any comments in the chat about these levels of sales enablement maturity and where you see yourself, or any other comments about maturity around enablement? So we've talked through what is strategy. We've talked about having a charter. We've talked about frameworks. We've talked about maturity. We started this all off with taking a moment to center ourselves, to breathe deeply, to just kind of drop off the things that we were doing just before we came here. This session is something that you're doing as an investment in yourself. Being intentional is about how you show up every single day. And that is being curious, asking good questions, participating when you're at the table. And the more you do that, the more you're going to see the results pay off. So capturing feedback, creating your commitment to excellence, driving a methodology and framework, all of these are going to help you create results and find a good fit for your enablement practice. So when we think about what we do day in and day out, we are playing a little bit of chess and a little bit of checkers. It's a balancing act in every enablement team. Sometimes we're looking at strategy, sometimes we're playing the tactical game, and it's finding that balance, responding to the needs of the business, being agile each and every day so that you can support the needs of the business. So pulling it all together before we get to Q&A, It's a 4-step process as far as I'm concerned to add strategy to your mix. Now, remember, I'm talking about adding strategy to your mix, not throwing everything out and starting from ground zero with a brand new strategy. What I'm suggesting here is that keep doing what you're doing on the day-to-day, but start to think more strategic each and every day when you have that opportunity. So first step is putting on your thinking cap, taking some time, whether you carve out certain days or hours of your schedule, or maybe you kind of just shut down your phone and your computer and you really think about all of the things that are coming your way and where can you make some silence in all the noise. What do you want to be when you grow up? All of those kind of curious questions that you can put in front of yourself. Number 2 is build that charter. Again, the charter will help you create that directional point of where you want to go. Typically, a charter has a couple of specific areas in it where you talk about, what is your mission and vision as a department, as a team, as an individual of one, if that's your case. Who are your customers, your stakeholders? What are some of your priorities that you want to address? And then how are you going to go about doing that? So it sounds a lot like a strategy, but it's more at a level of definition about who you are and how you're going to work within the constructs of the company. Then you pick a framework that works for you. There's lots of frameworks out there. You find one that supports your business, whether you're a small company, big company, lots of frameworks, lots of consulting companies that can help you think through that. And I think this is also an area where you can leverage the Sales Enablement Collective. You can leverage Sales Enablement Society, Sales Enablement Pros, or any of the various sales enablement practitioner groups out there, because a lot of people will share best practices very freely with their practitioner colleagues in the sales enablement space. And then number 4 is about really assessing your resources, looking at your team, your technology. It's a combination of people, process, and systems. What do you have? What do you need? Are your people skilled? Do they need some training? Put all of that together is going to help put you on the path for implementing some good strategic discussions, thoughts, and direction into your overall enablement plan. If you do those things, you're going to have some happy customers and also a very happy team, because they're going to be very satisfied and very happy to really just work where they're passionate and put their skills to work every single day. So I'm happy to open it up for questions now.
Awesome. Yeah, Jill, thank you so much for taking the time to present. That was awesome. That does unfortunately bring us over the time. However, as Jill said, if you do have any questions for her, please feel free to reach out to her over on LinkedIn, and I'm sure that she'll be more than happy to continue the conversation over there and answer any questions. With that said, that does actually wrap up day 1 of the Sales Enablement Festival. So Jill, again, thank you so much for taking the time to present, and to everyone that tuned in, thank you so much, and we'll see you all tomorrow for day 2.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.